We did our persona profile from the perspective of a client that would require data risk services. His name is Kevin Rocker and is the company owner of Netload, which is a video software company that allows students to communicate with each other. They are located in Toronto, Ontario, and Kevin is very passionate about adapting to the ever-changing world of technology, which is represented by the quote. His skills include being a good leader, problem solving, teamwork, and adaptability. He got his Master's of Engineering degree at Harvard and decided to go on his own path and created a software company. His company needs to have security from online threats as the users will input sensitive information into the software. A fully secure setup of our network with easily accessible frameworks and a well thought out projection of possible risks. Every risk should be taken into account and the steps that go into securing it. He fears this project consists of possible risks that will be overlooked and attackers having easy access to the sensitive information of the users. Another fear is the entire software losing credibility because it is not secure. This encompasses Kevin Rocker's persona profile and insight into his personality and what his needs and fears are.
The journey map for Kevin is broken up into 5 phases. The first phase is finding the network solutions company, which has a timeline of approximately 1 to 2 weeks. Some questions asked during this phase include if this is a credible company, what are the costs, and have they worked with someone before. These are important questions to ask to make sure the company chosen is credible and will match their needs. The emotions felt during this phase are anxious, enthusiastic, and opportunistic. For this phase, Kevin needs to make sure the right company is chosen for the requirements. The second phase is to interview to discuss the network and what their needs are. Questions asked for this phase are: what are the risks? Can these vulnerabilities be resolved? And who will be responsible for the credibility of this information? These questions confirm the validity of information and will ensure all vulnerabilities are covered. During this phase, weighing up the pros and cons, eagerness, and a new understanding of the company are emotions that are felt. For this phase, Kevin needs to make sure to have detailed information about NetLoad's network ready to present so that the data security company can give a proper analysis. The third phase is the weekly checkups/updates. Questions to ask during this phase would be asking what the progress is, if there are any roadblocks, and what the estimated time of completion for the project would be at this point in the process. The emotions felt during this phase would be optimism and revisiting prior ideas. Kevin needs to ask questions and make sure everything is on track for this phase. The fourth phase is the final presentation. The company will give NetLoad the findings they got after all the research. Questions to ask during this phase would be having all the vulnerabilities been covered, and anything that hasn't been covered, what do we have to look out for, and is the information given backed with research and facts. During this phase, Kevin will feel inspired and ready to implement these changes. He needs to make sure the points set at the beginning of the journey map were met and that the job is done. The fifth phase, or the last phase, is the actual implementation of the network solutions given. Questions to ask during this phase is if the network solutions fit into NetLoad's topology, what the cost would be, and who would be in charge of these changes. Feeling nervous and ready to see the results are the emotions felt during this phase. Kevin needs to choose the right people in his company to be the ones to implement these changes and ensure that this process is done correctly and that their software is secure and no sensitive information could get released or hacked, thereby losing credibility of their company. This is a journey map for Kevin Rocker, the NetLoad company owner.